Series win after series win, and the Phillies keep putting together successful stretches inside and outside the division. Living on the edge and dramatic finishes has been a good path halfway through the month of May. And a step back inside the division is the blueprint for the next 6 games of the homestands. Push aside yesterday's game against the Cincinnati Reds. It was an excellent weekend for the Phils. They took 2 of 3, and now the second series of this long homestand is upon us. They are back within the division. They take on the Miami Marlins for the first time here at Citizens Bank Park. And the entire National League East has been entertaining this year. The top 4 teams, only 2.5 games separate them from the top spot. The Nationals at 23-15 lead the way. The Phils have been the most entertaining and surprising team in all of baseball. They're a game back right now, 6 games over 500. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by Ben Davis. The last time the Phillies faced the Marlins in South Florida, they took 2 of 3. Tonight, Jared Eickhoff takes the baseball. Now, Jared's coming off a tough outing his last time against the Atlanta Braves, and he's hoping that whatever he fine-tuned during his bullpen session will lead to success here tonight.
He said he made the necessary adjustments and had one heck of a bullpen. I'm really looking for a great bounce-back performance out of Jared Eickhoff. He desperately needs it. Last outing in Atlanta, basically a 2-pitch pitcher, and unfortunately for him, elevating the fastball. He needs to throw that fastball to set up that very good curveball. We know about the curveball and the lowest batting average in all of baseball against that pitch, but the fastball, these pitches are elevated. He needs to work down and work the corners.
One thing Pete McCadden talked about today about Jared Eickhoff, and they've discussed this with him, is that they would like him to throw his other pitches a little bit more. Only 8% of the time last time against the Braves did he throw the changeup and the slider.
You cannot be a 2-pitch starting pitcher in the big leagues unless you're a Randy Johnson. And you take a look at this, 57% fastball, 35% breaking ball or curveball. If you're sitting on either one of the pitches, obviously 50% chance you're going to get one or the other.
All right, Carlos Ruiz will do the catching tonight for the Phils as Cameron Rupp continues to recuperate from the collision the other day. Maybe that has a little bit of a difference for Jared Eickhoff in tonight's game. Eickhoff making his 8th start of the season. Meanwhile, Adam Conley, who's also been a pleasant surprise for the Miami Marlins, he's making his 8th start of the season, 2-2, with an ERA of 3.72. Well, the Marlins had some hot hitters when the Phillies saw them last, but nobody was hotter and has been hotter since than Marcell Ozuna. He's right in the middle of a 15-game hitting streak. We'll get to the lineups at first pitch when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Toyota. Get a great deal on your favorite Toyota during the Toyota Time Sales Event. Toyota, let's go places. By Citizens Bank. The next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. Jared Eickhoff has had some very good numbers here at Citizens Bank Park since they acquired him. The Phillies did, from the Texas Rangers. So he's hoping that the comforts of home will lead to some more success against the Miami Marlins. Let's take a look at the Marlins lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. It'll be Dietrich, Prado, and Yelich, followed by Giancarlo Stanton, Justin Bour, and Marcelo Zuna. JT Real Muto, the catcher, will bat seventh. Adeiny Echeverria, the shortstop, bats eighth. And batting ninth and pitching is Adam Conley. And they will face Eickhoff, the 25-year-old who's 1-5 this year, a 4.43 ERA. Last time out, he allowed 7 hits and 4 runs, 3 of which were earned. And well, we talked about it during the Open. You know, this is a big start for him personally because he hit a little bit of a speed bump, and now he has to make the adjustment, and he feels like he has made that adjustment.
He hit that speed bump because I think he just really fell in love with that curveball, and rightfully so. He was getting a lot of strikeouts with it. Scouting report will sit right about 91 miles an hour. He needs to throw all 4 pitches, and he did debut against these fish last year.
Talking to him the other day after his bullpen session, he goes, you know, I'm not worried. He said, I feel really good about where I am right now. And I said, that's good. And he should feel really good. Derek Dietrich will lead things off. Dietrich was 0 for 4 yesterday against the Nationals, 2 for 12 overall on the road trip. But he's had a good month of May. First pitch is just a bit outside. We're underway. Wouldn't be bad to get that pitch, though, if you're Jared Eickhoff, toward the outside part of the plate. 2 balls and no strikes. Dietrich at 298, batting leadoff. D. Gordon is suspended from baseball, so they've been fishing around for a leadoff hitter.
I see what you're doing there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. 2-1 to Dietrich. Don Mattingly had JT Real Muto in that leadoff spot. Foul ball, and back even, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Not a huge guy on velocity, but you love to see that 94 out of Jared Eickhoff. Location was very good as well.
We mentioned he's been good here at Citizens Bank Park. Not to throw a whole lot of numbers at you, but his ERA and his starts, his career starts here in Philadelphia, is 2.03. And that was a good pitch in on the hands a little bit. And Dietrich's retired, 1 out. All right, Ben, you're going solo tonight. Your Nissan keys to the game.
Plain and simple, short and sweet. Runners in scoring position. Need to do a better job of 16 men they left on base yesterday. And then Jared Eickhoff, use them all. Use all your pitches, all 4 pitches.
Folks asked about Carlos Ruiz catching tonight for Jared Eickhoff, because most of the time it's Cameron Rupp that's catching Jared Eickhoff. And Pete said it's good every once in a while to change it up, because you have to, as a pitcher, be able to throw to anyone. Odubel got a good jump, and he and Borges converged, and the ball is loose. The throw goes to second on 1 hop, and Prado is out at second base. Now the Marlins may review this. Prado is a little slow getting up.
He would have known if he was touched or not.
Well, Don Mattingly's asking Prado, and Prado made a fist thinking that he was tagged. And let's watch it right here, and he did get him right there. Yep. Boy, that was a really close play.
Just a great recovery by Odubel. I think that's Peter Borges' ball, because the slicing a right-handed hitter is going to be slicing back towards the right fielder and slicing away from the center fielder. A little bit easier of a play for Peter.
There have been very few occasions this year where there's been a lack of communication out in the outfield. That may have been, one of the only ones we've seen in the month of May. Swing and a miss to Yelich. There is a very good breaking pitch. It wasn't the curveball, though.
No,
it
wasn't.
Slider. And Carlos wanted that slider in the dirt. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. changeup in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
It's a hard changeup at 88. I'd like to see him take just a bit more off of that.
Got him with a fastball at 94, and there's the location you were talking about. Good location down, strikeout number 1. Yep, it's dollar dog night tonight, thanks to the folks at Hatfield. So get your dollar dogs. Get as many as you want. That guy is getting all ready for today's ball game.
Load him up.
Load him up. Mustard and ketchup. He's switching it up. Let's take a look at the Phillies starting lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. It'll be Herrera, Hernandez, and Maikel Franco. Carlos Ruiz, the catcher, bats 4th. Tommy Joseph starts at first base. He'll hit 5th. Freddie Galvis 6th. The bottom third of Goodell, Eichhoff, and Peter Borges. And they'll face 25-year-old left-hander Adam Conley. Conley 2-2 this year. He's 0-1 against the Phillies. He's pitched well against the Phillies, though, in his other starts. He is averaging a little more than a strikeout per innings pitched, which it's kind of the first time in his career he has done that.
Made of the same ilk, like Chris Sale or Randy Johnson. I'm not comparing him. Body size, yes. Stuff-wise, not yet. But you take a look at the scouting portal. Sit about 92. Good slider and change.
I hope he doesn't throw like Randy Johnson and Chris Sale. 1 ball and no strikes to Odubel, who was 3 for 11 in the series against the Cincinnati Reds. Out of play, 1-1. The Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Barbara Piat of Millville, New Jersey. Phillies hit a home run in today's ball game. Then Barbara will win $200.
Good luck, Barbara.
Inside, 2-1 to Odubel. Conley was a 2nd-round draft pick by the Marlins in 2011. Off the hands, out toward right center. That's going to be a tough play. Now Marcell Ozuna is there. Maybe it wasn't going to be as tough as I thought.
Yeah, kind of stepped back on it right quick and then was able to make the play rather easily on Odubel. Stanton's coming in
and then going out.
Now because of the sun, he just kind of flinched on it, or maybe because of Ozuna's reaction.
Cesar Hernandez the batter, and Cesar hits it off the end of the bat to right center field, and then he'll drop for a hit. Flagged down by Stanton, who will get the throw in quickly and hold him to a single. Well, what was a good series for Cesar continues here tonight. 4 for 10 now on the homestand.
He's going through some lumber, but he will definitely take this right off the end of the bat. He snapped a few yesterday, but that's a good swing. Using the whole field, not trying to do too much with it. Not the best pitch to hit, but he did the most with it.
Runner aboard. Maikel Franco is the batter. Franco 5 for 13 in the series that was just completed. And that was good to see because he had a couple of at-bats that showed that he was staying on the baseball. A pitcher's pitch right there. A strike on the outside corner. And that reaction by Franco is the reaction that most people would give that pitch.
Something you should never ever say to an umpire. How am I going to hit that when I can't even reach it? Never a good thing to say to an umpire.
Probably not to start the series. No. Outside 1-1. Andy Fletcher, the veteran, is behind home plate. Toby Basner at first. Mark Ripperger is at second. And Cowboy Joe West is over at third. Hernandez goes. The pitch is hit toward the hole. Back-ended by Echeverria. And he throws out Franco. 2 outs and a runner in scoring position.
Just getting it right between the infielders. Who's going to cover? Usually they'll cover their mouth. Open mouth means I have it. Closed mouth means you have it. Between the shortstop and the second baseman, sometimes that'll vary as well. They had it right that time.
Here's Carlos Ruiz, who's putting together a solid year. Is essentially the backup to Cameron Rupp. Rupp is day-to-day with the leg injury from the play the other night to end the ball game. Carlos has hit it 3 straight. And over his last 10 ball games, he has 14 hits during that time. There's Cameron Rupp. He was throwing today out in the outfield.
Speaking with Chris Mudd, one of the Phillies trainers today, said he did some baseball activities and felt okay, looked okay.
Yeah, the ankle seems looser. Which is good. Phillies will not make a move. That's why they've listed him as day-to-day. And the hope is that he'll be fine sometime in the next couple of days. In the interim, if there are any issues with Carlos Ruiz, since you are not on the 40-man roster, they're going to utilize.
I'm on the 41-man roster.
They're going to utilize Andres Blanco as the emergency catcher. Foul ball. And
like he couldn't do it. He could do everything.
He's been catching some bullpens.
Do everything.
I said, "What do you?" I said, "You ready to go? Need to be behind the plate?" He just laughed. And he's talking to the alternate emergency catcher, Emmanuel Burris. Out to center field. Marcelo Zuna goes back a few steps. He's under it. And the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left in scoring position. On to the second in a scoreless game.
Philadelphia, still no score. And guys, when you look at this Miami Marlins offense, well, you know, there's one guy that's right in the middle of that offense that everybody fears, the guy that is stepping to the plate right now, Giancarlo Stanton. This is a good lineup, 1 through 8, but the guy in the middle, he's the guy that everybody says you can't allow to beat you, and that's what they're trying to do. They did a really good job in the first 3-game series down in Miami. He was just 1 for 8 in that series. Now, that one hit was a home run that went about 475 feet, but 1 for 8, I think you would take that with the 1 home run. Career numbers here at Philadelphia, he's had some success here, but 54 strikeouts at Citizens Bank Park and about 150 at bats. So they've been able to control him. That's what they're going to need to do in these next 3 games if they're going to want to have some success, guys.
Yeah, even though he's got that 238 batting average, he is still one of the elite players in Major League Baseball. He's just frightening, not only offensively, but also defensively.
He is the complete package.
He had 4 hits in the National Series, and one of those 4 was a home run.
I know, like Murph said, it did just go 1 for 8, but that home run should have counted for like 3 hits.
Doesn't work that way, Ben.
It was a far one.
Curveball, he was bailing on it. Hits a mile high into shallow left field. Goodell comes running in. He says he has it. And there's one away. Well, fortunately, he fooled him. Somehow he still made some contact with it.
Very awkward swing. He's watching it live down below, and he just kind of, he buckled, and then he still, I've never seen a guy buckle and still swing. Okay, I'll swing. Have you ever seen someone buckle and swing?
No, not like that. I've seen them buckle and then chop at it and miss it. Justin Bour takes a fastball in. It's 0-1. Bour 265, 6 home runs, 18 runs batted in. He hit an opposite field home run against the Phillies when they saw him down at Marlins Park. That one's a hot shot caught by Tommy Joseph. 2 outs.
Quick reaction there by Tommy, and it had to be. That ball got on him in a hurry. Could be a fastball in, and one thing Bour can do is hit a fastball, and he turned on that one. Good play by Tommy.
Tommy Joseph's parents are still here, getting a chance to see him play for the 2nd time. There's Marcell Ozuna. He takes outside. He's riding a 15-game hitting streak. Loves hitting against the Phillies. This 15-game hitting streak coincides with a gift that he was given from his hitting coach, Barry Bonds. Barry gave him some of his bats. That ball is drilled deep to left field. It is going to be way out of here. Solo home run. And the Marlins take a 1-0 lead. That's a 16-game hitting streak for Marcell Ozuna. And it's his 7th home run of the year.
We're going to have to start putting him into the Freddie Freeman, Brian McCann, Philly killer list. He does some damage against these Phillies. This is a good looking swing here. Powerful. Very powerful. That ball got out of here in a hurry. That is not where you want to live if you're throwing fastballs. And that is middle, and elevated. So Barry gave him those bats. I can't imagine them being. You know, I have bats that I use. I would never use them in a game if I were still playing. They're old. Sawdust.
Maybe he had them stored somewhere.
A humidor? Maybe put them in Ichiro's humidor for his bats.
Could have. JT Realmuto is the batter. .314 hitter, 2 home runs, 13 runs batted in. A solid month of May. Thrown a lot of sliders so far in this ball game. Well, whatever he gave Marcell Ozuna has helped. Outside, 2-1. He's got some good sink on that fastball tonight.
It does. And it's got a little bit extra velocity like we talked about in that first inning. Another slider.
You think he's waiting to pull out the curveball?
I mean, he's thrown a few hooks already, but
he's just not living and dying.
Yeah, I don't like it here. 3-2, 2 outs, nobody on. I challenge him, especially this early in the ball game.
3-2 pitch to him. Well, he does challenge him with a fastball. It's low, ball 4. And they'll start over now with Adeiny Echeverria. Echeverria hitting .217, 2 home runs, 11 runs batted in. He had a solid year last year. He has not had the same season, of course, this season. But like Marcell Ozuna, he does seem to come to life against the Phillies. And here. Loves hitting here. Has a grand slam here. .423 hitter. Outside, 1-0.
It's a very fundamentally sound shortstop as well. Soft hand, strong arm.
Not missing by much with some of these pitches, Ben, but he is just missing a little bit toward the outer half of the plate.
Doesn't seem to have quite a smooth release. He's getting to the release point. He's just trying to give it a little bit extra. I think that's why he keeps yanking these pitches down and away to a righty. Much like he did to Real Muto with the ball 4. Yeah, it was 94, but too much effort.
Out to right field. Peter Borges venturing back. He's a few steps from the track, and he makes the catch. The side is retired. 1 run, a home run for Marcell Ozuna. 1 man left. On to the bottom of the second. It's 1-0. Marlins on top.
tomorrow's draft lottery day, and we'll have you covered.
Sixers play-by-play voice Mark Zumoff and beat writer Keith Pompey will join us in studio.
We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 on the Comcast Network.
Bottom of the second inning, Marlins on top 1-0. And the Phillies will send Tommy Joseph, Freddie Galvis, Tyler Goodell to the plate against Adam Conley. Conley last time out went 4 innings, allowed 7 hits and 4 earned runs. He walked 2 and struck out 4 against the Milwaukee Brewers. He threw 84 pitches that night. It was a very different start against the Brewers compared to his first start against the Brewers this year. His first start against Milwaukee was on the 29th of April. He went 7 2/3. He walked 4, struck out 7, did not allow a hit, and was lifted from the ball game with 2 outs in the 8th inning without allowing a hit after throwing 116 pitches. As Joseph fouls this one back, 2-1.
What we've seen has been very limited out of Tommy thus far, but I like his setup. And the fact that I don't see a whole lot of wasted motion. There's not a whole lot of moving parts. Like Odubel has a ton of working moving parts. Tommy very quiet in his setup. Seems like he's not trying to pull everything.
That was the scouting report coming up from Dave Brundage, his manager of Lehigh Valley, was that he was hitting the ball to all fields.
Come on, Tommy.
2-2 pitch. Out toward right center field. Ozuna will float under it and make the catch. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Reds left here and they went on to Cleveland, where they're losing to the Indians 7-4. Jason Kipnis has a 2-run single in that ball game. Cleveland is 5 games back in the Central. Remember last year they closed big time at the end and just fell out of the race. Freddie Galvis fouls the ball back.
Such a good pitching staff that the Indians have assembled.
And their bullpen's getting better too.
Yes. Allen at the back end of that, very solid closer.
1 ball, 1 strike to Galvis. Popped up on the left side. Echeverria backpedals into shallow left center. 2 outs. And Tyler Goodell is coming up. So there wasn't as much debate as you would have imagined from folks around baseball, or even with the Marlins, when Don Mattingly took Adam Conley out after 7 2/3 and did not allow a hit. Mattingly said, listen, I was doing it for his future. He had thrown 116 pitches. If he stayed in the game and went after the no-hitter, he'd be over 130 pitches. He said, I wasn't going to do that. And the numbers dictate that folks don't do that. Last year, there were only 2 pitchers that threw 130 pitches or more in a game. It was Mike Fiers during his no-hitter with the Astros, and Clayton Kershaw in a start in September. As Goodell bounces it toward third, a foul ball. Mattingly said it was an easy decision. I knew he couldn't finish it because his pitch count was going to be too high. We weren't going to let him finish it. There was no way we were going to allow this young pitcher to throw 130 pitches in a game. And to Conley's credit, he had no problem with it. 2-2
said
pitch.
Publicly.
Well, well, that's true. Goodell is aboard, a 2-out single. And he now has 5 hits on this homestand. This Saturday, when the Phillies take on the Atlanta Braves, you can come and get a pretzel. You also, if you're 14 and under, will get a Fanatics children's book. It's Comcast Be a Fanatic About Reading Day. Tickets can be purchased anytime by going to Phillies.com. Eichhoff fouls the first pitch back.
Mike was asking yesterday, Mike Schmidt, what's the reasoning behind this? Why is Pete Mackanin continuing to hit the pitcher eighth? And you said it's been working. Their club has been winning. It's more out of superstition than anything. And I said it seems like the pitcher is making the third out of the inning more so than not, and having Peter Borges lead off a lot of innings.
All right, so let's say if Borges, if there was a hitter in the eighth hole. Now, obviously, the Phillies offensively have not hit as well as they would have liked.
Right.
Sometimes they pitch around that guy and go after the pitcher.
But not in this situation, they wouldn't.
Correct.
You have a base occupied at first base, and it really has seemed like that's worked out a number of times.
There's Peter on deck. 2-2 to Eichhoff. And he fights it off and loops it out to center field, a base hit. Goodell around second. He'll hold up there. He's at first and second with 2 men down. Jared Eichhoff, who has shown to be a good hitter, picks up another hit.
Ow.
Maybe good that he's over at first and doesn't have to go right back on the
Yeah,
mound.
his thumbs might be in the batter's box still. This ball really gets in on him, but it's a good swing. Stays inside the baseball, but hits that well down on the trademark or the label. It's a thing of beauty, though, Tom.
Borges hits it out towards center, right at Marcelo Zuna. And the Phillies are retired here in the second. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left. We've played 2 innings. We'll go to the third. Phillies trail the Marlins 1-0. Time now for the Jeep Stump the Fans trivia question. Log on to Phillies.com, go to the fans section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. The question is, who is the only other Marlin besides Dee Gordon to win a National League batting title, Ben? Who is the only other Marlin besides Dee Gordon to win a National League batting title?
I'll tell you after I get done icing my knee.
Did you hit your knee again?
Again.
Is this the first time you've sat in this booth?
Every game. That's a good question, though.
What, is this the first time you've sat in this booth? Eichhoff is just finishing up his warm-up tosses. There it is, ready.
It's funny for you, isn't it, Tom?
It really was. I wasn't laughing at the fact that you hit your knee. I was laughing more at your reaction.
That I couldn't say anything?
Well, we had your mic off anyway. Adam Conley takes a strike as we start the top of the third. Conley 0 for 13 this year.
Oh, good swing.
Breaking ball, and he gets him. Second strikeout for Eichhoff. And with one out, Derek Dietrich is coming up.
Great when you can just put a pitcher away like that. 3 pitches. Thanks for coming. Go sit down. Saves your pitch count. Saves everything.
Yeah, no fooling around. Dietrich flied out to center his first time to the plate. '86.
Hard changeup.
Has to be changeup.
Has to be.
Jared said after his last start, he said, honestly, I just didn't feel confident and comfortable with my changeup. He said it's a work in progress. He's worked on it in the offseason. I think in spring training they felt like it was at the point where he could throw it more.
Good pitch.
Tommy Joseph has it. Easy flip over.
Was able to get in on him his first at bat with a fastball in for a fly ball to center field. Was able to do it again. Well, he's set up away. Ends up being in. Better be lucky than good, but it'll work.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every Adam Markey game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. It includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Prado takes on the outside corner. Prado among the top 5 in hitting in the National League. The leader is Daniel Murphy, who's hitting over 400 at the start of play today. 0-2.
Always liked his approach a lot. Inside out with anybody. Take balls to right field. If it's slow, he will pull you down the line. Hit some homers as well.
And he lines it back through the middle. So he's 2 for 2. Kind of made him look goofy with the first couple pitches, and then he was able to stay in there and drill one right up the middle.
This is just another 0-2 pitch that needs to be better. Team Prado's not going to miss this pitch. Supposed to be down and away. It's a slider, and it just doesn't move. It's hanging. Look at Chuch's reaction. Man, I want that ball down.
Yelich struck out his first time up, which is good news because he hit the Phillies well the last time they saw him. He is 3 for 17 on this road trip, which included the games against the Nationals.
Good changeup.
Boy, Carlos is really forcing him to throw his other pitches.
I would think Jared would want to throw the other pitches.
I think that was the game plan coming in.
Talked about in our open, only 8% either changeup or slider in his last start.
There's a liner into right center field, a base hit with a fastball. Prado's on his way to third. Yelich on his way to second. The throw by Odubel not in time, so a double puts runners on second and third. And Giancarlo Stanton will be the hitter.
Ball's really hit hard there. Shows you that Yelich not only can hit the ball far and hard, but he's got some wheels to go along with it.
I wonder if they're reviewing whether Yelich came off the bag on the tag.
Freddie did motion in, but he was thinking too right out of the box. Dubel does a good job of getting to it and firing it in. I think he stayed on.
He definitely left the bag a little bit, but by the time Freddie applied the tag, it looked like his foot was there. So now Stanton, who flied out to shallow left on a breaking pitch his first time up, is up with 2 runners in scoring position.
Team coming in here, if he would have applied that tag just a bit quicker, maybe towards his tail, would have gotten him, but it's so hard for an infielder to do that. Pitch is close. Not that close. One thing you'll notice about Stanton is his balance. When he gets done taking a swing, he's never falling over. He's not swinging too hard. He lets his physical strength take care of that power. But he has a very good base. He gets done to swing, he's not falling over.
Yeah. 2-2 as he throws that slider. He has 2 in scoring position here with Prado at third and Yelich at second. See if Eichhoff can finish him off with a count even 2 balls 2 strikes. Curveball swung on and missed. He got it.
He flinched again.
3rd strikeout for Eichhoff. First time he's gotten somebody, well, actually second time he's gotten somebody with that curveball. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left in scoring position. We'll go to the bottom of the 3rd. It's still 1-0. Marlins on top. Brought to you by your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Heard of your local Del Val Honda dealer. Visit DelValHondaDealers.com. Buy WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. And buy your local Ford stores. Odubel Herrera will lead it off as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. And he takes inside 1-0. Odubel, who walked twice yesterday, now with 29 walks, which is 1 more than he had all of last year. He's not walking as much in May compared to April, but he still has exceeded his numbers from last year.
Not walking as much, but we've seen that batting average go up because he's getting more hits. Always good to get in a hitter's count, which he is in right now.
To left field. On the run is Yelich, and he'll get to the spot. Ball sliced a little bit more than he anticipated originally. 1 out. Cesar Hernandez is coming up. Wistar Institute Melanoma Awareness Day, presented by Independence Blue Cross and Citizens Bank, will be this Sunday, May 22nd. All fans coming to the ballpark will receive that visor right there. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Cesar shows bunt, which he has done, would you say, all but one at bat the last 2 days?
Yeah.
Causes Prado to creep in just a little bit more.
It's a perfect situation for him, and being a right-handed hitter, Conley on the mound, he's going to be falling off towards the third base side to just do a push bunt. I mean, that would just be ideal. Get it right out in this direction here. Boom, boom, and that would be just perfect. Now he's going to be coming this way, and if he can get a ball out in this direction, it's going to be all day long going to be a hit.
He hits it softly that way, gobbled up by Dietrich.
Franco.
And Maikel Franco will be the batter. Franco grounded out to shortstop his first time up, with Cesar running on the pitch. He asked for time as Conley was ready to fire.
Change up. Exactly 10 miles off his fastball average velocity.
Threw it again. This time it was down and away, and he strikes out Franco. First strikeout of the night for Conley. So he's through 3 innings. He's allowed 3 hits, and he's working with a 1-0 lead. We'll move to the top of the 4th. LaserJet printers deliver unmatched quality, and their Jet Intelligent toner cartridges print up to 1/3 more pages. Get yours from who? But WB Mason today and experience the difference. Nobody beats WB on HP. Nice night here at Citizens Bank Park. Quite cool, of course, in the Delaware Valley today. It's turned out to be a nice night.
It's been a beautiful day, despite only getting up to about 26 today here in May.
There's Justin Bohr. Takes a strike. It's 0-1.
You know, we complain that it's going to be July and we're going to say, oh, it's so hot. I wish we had that day on May 16th when it was perfect.
I'm not going to do that. 1 ball, 1 strike. Although I do admit I did walk out with shorts today and turned right back and put on sweatpants. Inside 2-1.
You said it was rather windy in the Great Garden State.
It was. Surprisingly, my hair was going everywhere. Topper foul over toward the Phillies dugout.
So many things he can do right now. He can come back with that same pitch, throw the big curveball. You dot him down and away with a fastball is always a good option with Bohr.
He did throw the curveball they offer, and Joe West says no. And it's full 3-2. Change up, and Eichhoff makes a heck of a play. 1 out. That was an excellent play by Jared Eichhoff. Bohr doesn't run all that well, but I don't know if Cesar would have thrown him out if it got past the mountains.
Once he gets going, he's okay, but you're right. That was a good attempt by Jared Eichhoff here just to get to it. Very good play. Full extension.
Well, that'll bring Marcell Ozuna to the plate. So, Murph, we've seen a lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders, and only a handful of curveballs tonight from Jared Eichhoff.
That's true, but I would imagine we'll continue to see a little more. You got Giancarlo Stanton swinging and striking out on the curveball, and that is the subject of our cold hard fact presented by Clean Crisp Coors Light. How about this? The lowest opponent's average versus breaking pitches in the National League this year. Top two guys right here in Philadelphia. Eichhoff at 0.71. Batters batting 0.71 against his breaking stuff. Aaron Nola at 0.83. The only two guys under 1. You see Kershaw and De La Rosa follow in that list. So pretty good stuff. Lots of swings and misses at their breaking stuff, guys.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, early on this year, we were talking about how the Phillies, more than any other staff, will throw that curveball. Bob McClure said, there's really nothing to it except for the fact that they all throw the curveball. But Bob was a big proponent when he pitched, and he was an excellent pitcher. He was a big proponent of throwing the curve.
Just don't see a whole lot of them anymore. Most pitches have lateral movement. East-west, west-east. Depending if you're right or lefty. And Nola has pitch with depth. Eichhoff's breaking ball, his curveball, has depth. Top to bottom. I always preferred hitting the slider over a curveball.
2-2 pitch to Ozuna. And a fastball in on the hands. Boy, that was a good spot.
That was a good spot, and unfortunately Chooch got smoked back there by the backswing.
Well, he got hit the first time, but it was a little softer, and Ozuna just apologized.
Nothing you can do about it. It's a fastball in. Good riding motion in on Ozuna. You can see the backswing here. Doink. You have to swing at it. See, glancing blow there off Chooch. You have to swing at it because it's going to be called a strike.
Real Muto walked his first time up.
Young lady's happy.
She's got the infinity scarf and now a baseball. 1-2 pitch. Curveball line to left field. Goodell puts it away. Side is retired. Nothing across for the Marlins. First 1-2-3 inning of the night for Jared Eichhoff. We'll move to the bottom of the fourth with the Phils in search of some offense. Toyota. Visit buyatoyota.com to find your RAV4 today. Toyota, let's go places. Let's go Phils. Marlins 1, Phillies nothing. As we go to the bottom of the fourth inning, they only run a home run by Marcell Ozuna. Carlos Ruiz, Tommy Joseph, Freddie Galvis tonight in this fourth inning against Adam Conley. Carlos flied out to center field his first time up. Phillies yesterday left 16 runners on base. It was the most in a game since June of 2013. It was the most in a game in Philadelphia since 1995. They were just having trouble with runners in scoring position, which has been an issue this year, but it was magnified more so yesterday against a struggling pitcher.
It was. That was Pete McCann's first thing he said in the post-game interview. He said, what was the problem? He didn't hit with runners in scoring position. You can't leave that many guys out on the bases.
Yeah, the Phillies wound up losing the game yesterday, and they very well deserved to lose that game yesterday, but they also could have, it could have been a 12-11 game or a 12-10 game. Tommy Joseph takes a strike. It's 0-1.
They definitely had their chances. Come on, Tommy, get that first one out of the way.
He has walked once since putting a Phillies uniform on. Pete McCann said today that he's looking forward to getting Tommy some ABs because the Phillies are going to be facing some lefties, and they also have a series against the Tigers coming up. Fly ball to center field. They have a lefty again tomorrow. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Pirates are shutting out the Braves 4-0. Matt Joyce. Matt Joyce has played well for the Pirates this year. He has an RBI single. Pirates are 8 games back behind the Cubs in the Central. Yesterday, Garrett Cole out-dueled Jake Arrieta and was asked after the ball game. I'm sorry, John Lester. Lester had a no-hitter for a good part of that game. And was asked after the ball game, what was it like to beat the best team in the National League? And he said, well, it was nice to beat them. I don't think they're the best team in the National League.
He is one fiery competitor.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole. Wears his heart on his sleeve, that's for sure.
Way outside, 1-1.
They are good, though, those Cubbies.
They have an 8-game lead. I mean, at this point in the season, there's plenty of time left, but it's going to be hard for anybody to catch them at this point, unless they start coming down with more injuries. Freddie pokes it foul. Fabulous catch by that gentleman. Yes, he caught it, and it was heading right toward his bride's head. Here we go. Excellent.
Knight in shining armor.
Freddie Galvis punches it through the hole on the right side. Carlos will stop at second. Runners on first and second with 1 out.
What a great adjustment by Freddie. His first at bat, he wasn't letting balls in the outside corner get deep. He was going out reaching for them. This one, he backs up just a hair and is able to just shoot it through that hole, which we've been accustomed to seeing him do. Watch, he lets this ball just get a little deeper and doesn't try and do a whole lot with it. Nice job. Good adjustment right there by Freddie.
That was the pattern. They were pitching him
Yeah, they just kept going farther out, and he kept chasing it.
Here's Goodell, who singled his first time up. Goodell 5 for his last 11. And 11 hits in his last 39 at-bats. He's not hitting in Wade Boggs' territory yet, but he was at 159 just a few days ago. And his average is at 218. 2-0 pitch is chopped through the hole on the left side of base hit. Rounding third, heading for home is Ruiz. Yelich's throw to the plate is too high, and the Phillies tie it up. RBI single for Tyler Goodell, his second hit of the evening.
It's a great job by Tyler Goodell, obviously, but I'm giving this run number 8. Standing at third base coaching box, Juan Samuel. I was throwing up the stop sign. Chooch, you're not going anywhere. Why not? You have Jared Eichhoff coming up. It's a good decision by Sammy. Chooch, we know, doesn't run that great, but that's just a good job by Carlos Ruiz to make that turn. A better job by Juan Samuel to send him.
Hey, great job by Real Muto. Give some of your fraternity brothers some props there. That ball could have gone back to the backstop and would have been second and third.
We're athletes, Tom.
All right.
You can fit a whole credit card underneath my spikes, but I jumped.
Cameron Rupp could appreciate that. So here's Eichhoff, who singled his last time up. Thought they might have him sacrifice to put 2 runners in scoring position, but they have him taken with runners on first and second. And he bunts at it and misses. 0-2.
Miss sign?
That's what I'm thinking.
Had to be.
Although Pete has thought outside the box when it comes to that stuff, whether you agree with it or not. And a lot of it, it depends on how he feels that the pitcher is with his abilities to sacrifice. There goes Galvis, and the pitch is hit foul off the foot of Eichhoff.
Echeverria was like, what's going on here? His reaction was priceless out there at shortstop. So, hey, give me a look back here. That was a heck of a jump.
Corners continue to play in. Swing and a miss. Second strikeout for Conley. And now Borges, who fly to center his first time to the plate, will be the batter. You know, a lot of times with managers, and there could have been a missed sign, I mean, who knows, but a lot of times with managers, you can always anticipate when the sacrifice is going to take place. I don't think you can do that with Pete. I do think there are times where he'll go the other way for one reason or another.
Pete, sometimes he says sometimes you just have to flat out play a hunch. 48 years in professional baseball. He's seen a lot.
Galvis is really dancing off that second base bag. Over toward the tarp. Martin Prado, the third baseman, runs out of room. I hope he got it. I hope the guy that flipped over the lap of the two ladies was able to get the foul ball. No, I don't think so. Here we go. Watch him. Watch him. Look, he's leaning. He's leaning. Yeah.
Is he getting out of the way?
I think eventually he was getting out of the way. I think he hurt himself.
We got another hurt knee down there, top.
At the countertop. There's the 0-2 coming to Borges.
There's nobody around Freddie. You think they would pinch on him just a little, just in case, you know, ball's hit very sharply once. Samuel's not going to stop him. But if they could cut down that distance just a hair.
Borges strikes out, and the side is retired. Back-to-back strikeouts for Conley. The Phillies do get a run to tie it up on an RBI single by Tyler Goodell. 4 in the books. We're tied up at 1. Saturday, May 21st, when the Phillies take on the Braves. It's at 9 a.m. here at Citizens Bank Park. Now, there's a package, and it's brought to you by the Rothman Institute. There's a package that costs $50. It's a 60-minute yoga session on the field. a Phillies branded yoga mat, lower level game ticket, and complimentary parking. Food and drink specials for participants at Xfinity Live in between yoga and the game. Go to Phillies.com/yoga for more information. Carlos Ruiz runs out of room. Ben, Matt has informed us that he will not be at Yoga Day because he has a spin class.
Spin class.
Yeah. So we would like you to represent us. Carl Graber, our statistician, was going to go. But then he decided he couldn't.
Couldn't?
He couldn't.
Or didn't want to?
Well, he's doing, he's got hot yoga classes that day. 0-1 pitch. Off the foot of Echeverria. Murph actually said that he was thinking about doing it in spring training. I remember the conversation clearly. But I think he has plans, so you have to now represent us.
What a sight that would be. Throw another one in there and do it again.
They're going to creep it away. And he hits it foul. Curveball, and he pulls it down the left field line. That's going to be in for an extra base hit. Echeverria speeds to second. He would have gotten there anyway. A leadoff double here in the 5th inning. Now the Marlins can do so many things because Conley's coming up, and he can easily sacrifice. Well, easily attempt to sacrifice.
I think he'll be definitely bunting all 3 pitches. His first at bat, 3 pitches. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Didn't look very comfortable at the bat.
All right, now you wanted a different pitch there to Echeverria, not to be Monday morning quarterback, but you wanted something different,
right? A different
right?
location.
Yeah. So same pitch maybe, but just down.
I'd have just gone back inside after you foul ball off your foot. You don't want to do it again. Be very hesitant.
Conley takes a curveball, and it's 0-1. And he bunts it toward the left side. Ruiz throws to third, and now everybody's going to be safe. Carlos anticipated that the runner was going to go to third base, but as we always say, you don't have to go if you're the runner at second base, and Echeverria felt like he was going to be a dead duck, so he decided not to go.
It's very smart base running on Echeverria's part because he's already in scoring position. He starts to go. You see the circle right here, Echeverria, and he does not go. Chooch comes up. He puts his head down just thinking he's going to be going the whole way. The relay throw from Michael not in time to Hernandez at first.
So that'll go down as a base hit. And there are runners on first and second. And Derek Dietrich is coming up. With nobody out, he takes inside. It's 1 ball, no strikes.
I say that it is smart base running because your instinct tells you, okay, I'm at second base. I know what the pitcher's trying to do right now. And Conley, just get the bunt down. You see a bunt executed. Instinct tells you just bolt for third base. He did not do that. That's smart play on his part. He would have run into an out.
Now the outside corner, 3-1. Ball 4, the bases are loaded. Bob McClure is going to head out to chat with Jared Eichhoff. Martin Prado is the batter. He's already 2 for 2. Now this is the tough part of the lineup for the Marlins. All right, so they're going to talk about a couple of things. Well, first, they're going to give him a little bit of a breather. Second, they may talk about how they want to pitch him. But third, they also want to remind the infielders of what they want them to do defensively. Am I missing anything?
No. I think where the middle guys are back. Maybe if you do get a slow roller towards you, think you have a play at home plate, go ahead and take that to eliminate Echeverria at home plate. Other than that, if you get a sharp one hit to you, turn 2, trade a run. Although it's hard to say with the Phillies offense right now struggling, it's hard to give up a run at this point.
Outside, 1 ball and no strikes. Prado singled in the first, and then with 2 strikes singled his last time up. Hard single up the middle. In the dirt, 2-0.
I think right there is where you'll see a pitcher maybe not trusting his fastball command. A 1-0 count, bases loaded, nobody out, still go to off-speed pitch.
Now he's back even 2-2. Martin Prado, 476 on the road. It's part of the reason why the Marlins this year are 12-7 on the road after being 30-51 on the road a season ago. And a breaking ball. Oh boy, did he back off.
Hey. This is a buckler. Whoop. The reactions we've gotten out of that curveball tonight.
Fly ball, shallow center field. Odubel comes in. Echeverria tags from third. Odubel makes the catch. And his throw to the plate is cut off by Tommy Joseph. So a sac fly, and the Marlins retake the lead. But the double play is still in order.
Not the worst thing that could have happened there by any means. Goes with another slider. Obviously has a better feel for that right now. Roll it up right here. Prado just getting it off the end of the bat, but gets it out deep enough. Nice job by Odubel hitting the cutoff man.
Yelich hits it sharply to short. Galvis has got it to second for one. Over to first. A 6-4-3 double play.
Nice.
Boy, that's a heck of a job by Jared Eichhoff. One run does score. We'll go to the bottom of the fifth. Marlins up one. Bank minor league reports. Ben Lively named the Eastern League's Pitcher of the Week again, and Jose Taveras the South Atlantic League Pitcher of the Week. Lively, 14 strikeouts in 13 innings. Meanwhile, Taveras, 5 strikeouts in 7 innings. That was 1 start. So congratulations to those guys.
Dylan Cousins is putting up some numbers. He really is.
Dylan Cousins is putting up some great numbers. So is Ben Lively. Cousins leads the Eastern League in home runs and home run rate.
You got Dylan Cousins. Last time I checked, he was 9 of 10 in stolen bases. It's like Elvis Araujo with a bat in his hand. That's how big he is. He's a monster.
Odubel Herrera swings through the first pitch. Odubel shows bunt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Odubel's 0 for 2. He's flied to center. He's also flied to left field. And he bunts toward third. And he's going to beat that one out.
What a weapon. His swings tonight have not been good. They're pounding him inside. He's not getting that front foot down. Did the old leg kick. Drop the bunt down.
He just likes getting on base.
I love him.
Well, now Cesar's shown bunt the first 2 times he was up. Prado is even with the bag at third. And he bunts toward third, and it is a foul ball. Later tonight on a brand new edition of Phillies Clubhouse, Tommy Joseph talks about his long, winding road to the big leagues. Phillies Clubhouse presented by Mercedes-Benz tonight at 11, right here on Comcast Sportsnet.
Don't be afraid to get after it, Franco.
Tommy's been pretty honest about his trek to the big leagues and what he was feeling the last few years, knowing that there were people that were probably frustrated, including himself. No balls in 1 strike. So I got a miss. 0-2.
Big one left here. The advantage of having the speed that Caesar has is the fact that he might be able to beat something out. Just put it in play.
In the dirt, gets by Real Muto, and Odubel goes to second base. A wild pitch.
Not a whole lot you can do with that one. Conley just spikes it. Look how far out in front of the plate that is. Right there's that dot. That's amazing how far out in front of the plate that was. Expect something on the inner half, either slider down and in, fastball in, just so Caesar cannot push the ball towards the right side.
There it is, and he struck him out.
Michael, you got this.
4 strikeouts for Conley.
I know Caesar knows this. He knows he's going to probably pound him in, but you throw a pitch there, it's like, you got me, dude, you got me.
Keitel, his first time up, grounded out to shortstop. Struck out his last time. Nice crowd on hand tonight. Game 1 of this series.
Too hard, Tom. It's too hard to swing.
Strike 3 called on the inside part of the plate. Back-to-back strikeouts for Conley. Keitel did not like it. 5 strikeouts.
Take a look at the overtop camera here.
Yeah, that's a ball.
Ball. If he's getting that pitch, it's a close pitch. He's getting that pitch. Really nothing a right-handed hitter can do with that pitch except hook it foul.
Yeah, that's what we talked about it before. On the outside part of the plate, Fletcher's been a little inconsistent, but when he's called it, it's been a pitcher's pitch, just like that one. Carlos fouls it off to the right, out of play. Phillies down 2-1 here in the bottom of the 5th inning, each team with 6 hits. Carlos loops it out toward right, but right there is Stanton. And the inning is over. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left in scoring position. We'll head to the 6th on a nice night for baseball here in South Philadelphia. Across Philly of the Week has made large contributions this week to the team's success. First, in the road trip finale, Cameron stepped to the plate in the 10th inning and delivered the game-winning 3-run double, leading to a Phils series victory. 2 nights later, he put the bat aside and defended home plate, receiving the game-ending throw from Tyler Goodell on the way to another Phillies 1-run win. Rupp has had that kind of a week, and it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Well, we show Marshall Harris when he's swinging a softball bat and pulling a hamstring or hurting his knee during these athletic events. So we figured we'd show him shooting off some hot dogs with the Fanatic. Smiley was not available today, but we got the smiling Marshall Harris from Comcast Sportsnet. Such a good guy.
Nothing that man can't do.
He was excited about it. He was a little nervous about, going on the back of the ATV with the or the back of the utility mobile with the Fanatic, but the Gator, as they call it,
Mississippi State's finest.
No balls and 2 strikes. He was getting orders from everybody. Shoot one up toward us. Shoot one to the press box. Shoot one here. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Stanton. Smiley is here, though. Working the crowd. Swing and a miss. He got Stanton on that breaking ball. 1 out here in the 6th inning. By the way, Mike McConey, Phillies official scorer, has changed the ball hit by Conley to a fielder's choice. One less hit for the Marlins.
Got a lateral slider. I think Giancarlo was looking for that big curveball and just got that slider and just flailed at it. He missed it by about 1.5 feet though, Tom.
1.5 feet? Here's Bohr. Good curve. 0-1. Out to left center field. That ball was tomahawked, and that's a powerful man who sends it into the seats for another opposite field home run against the Phils, his 2nd one this year, and it's 3-1 Marlins.
He is a strong man, and that ball was touched. Not too many fastballs that he's going to miss, even ones that are out of the strike zone. Down and in, up and away, generally the hot zones for lefties. Jared upset, he missed his spot.
Ozuna chops it toward 3rd. Oh, Michael Franco has it. 2 outs. Bohr's home run was his 7th, his 4th on the road. And Real Muto will be the batter. He's 0 for 1, lined out. Chopper back toward the middle, off the mound. Galvis is up with it, and the inning is over. But the Marlins do score another one on the opposite field home run by Bohr. Middle of the 6th inning. It's the Marlins 3, the Phillies 1. Is brought to you by Toyota. Get a great deal on your favorite Toyota during the Toyota Time Sales Event. Toyota, let's go places. By McDonald's. Jumpstart your morning with a hot or iced McCafe coffee. Now starting at just $1. And by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Well, if you have some time here at the ballpark when you come out to see the Phils, you can get yourself a new picture. Stop by the caricature stand. There's one over the first base side. Tommy Joseph lifts that one to foul territory over near the tarp, and Prado runs out of room. And it's 0-1.
Pretty close to that spot we saw earlier.
I was looking to see if the same gentleman dove for it. Now a meeting between Conley. There he is. He didn't put the same effort together. One pitch and a line drive back toward the middle, of base hit, the first major league hit for Tommy Joseph. It is a solid single to center field.
Good for you, Tommy.
Look at the reaction from his family about the reaction from the crowd. How cool is this?
Don't put that in the BP bucket.
Very nice by the Philly fans. Very nice. So Galvis now the batter with a runner at first, and he takes inside.
Good looking swing. There it goes. Not as much paparazzi as the first night here on Friday night, but glad his folks got to witness that.
1 ball, 1 strike. So Tommy's at first. Galvis 1 for 2 today. Singled the opposite way and also popped out to short.
Quick feet.
Three balls and 1 strike to Galvis. And Galvis pulls it foul. He may have broken his bat on it, and he did as he tosses the bat aside.
Best bat boy in the league comes out.
Tucker?
He's the best. Flat out the best.
Over toward third, and Olayed by Prado. He makes a nice play, and it's an around the horn double play. 5-4-3. 2 outs here in the 6th. And it'll bring Tyler Dell to the plate.
It's just tough. You get that leadoff guy on us, but the Phillies have had trouble just keeping that line going. Soft hands by Prado. Good feed to Dietrich. Across the board for the double play.
Tyler Goodell lines one down the right field line, and that is a fair ball going to the corner. That's his 3rd hit of the night. And he's going to pull into second base with a 2-out double.
You see a lot of lefty slice balls down the left field line. You don't see it very often from the righty. But
what is it about his swing?
His swing stays in the strike zone for a long time. It's a very level swing. His bat gets into the zone and it stays in the zone. It's very level. Therefore, he's able to drive balls to right field. Some guys will get to balls and pull off the ball. His bat stays in the zone for a long time, but it's still quick through the zone.
Manuel Burris will pinch hit for Jared Eichhoff. So Eichhoff's night is done after 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. And it's 0-1.
Look where it starts in the zone, right here, and it just stays. It stays right in this zone. It's outstanding.
Andrew Bailey looks like he'll be next up for the Phils. Burris' numbers with runners in scoring position. He's got Goodell at second base.
coming into tonight's ball game, Adam Conley has thrown that changeup 16.6% of the time. I am very impressed with the changeup this evening out of him. The speed is good, yes, but the location of these changeups.
And you don't see it as much against the lefties, but to the righties, it's really good.
It's very good. Donald Arthur is proud. I only know that because of his '84 Donruss rookie card, which was so hard to get. In the back, Donald Arthur Mattingly.
Why was it so hard to get?
Because it wasn't that hard to get. It was whether you not to get it centered. They were miscut when they make the big pages of them.
Yeah.
Hard to get one that was centered perfectly.
That one is looped out to left center field, and Ozuna closes quickly and makes the catch. And the side is retired. No runs, 2 hits, 1 man left. On to the 7th in a 3-1 Marlins game. Time now for your Delaware Valley Honda dealers game summary. Well, first things first, make sure you know where the ledge is on the countertop.
I know where it is now.
Marcelo Ozuna, Justin Bour both have solo home runs for the Marlins. Adam Conley, 6 innings so far, 1 earned run. He has scattered 8 hits. Jared Eichhoff is done after 6 innings, and Tommy Joseph his first major league hits. So Andrew Bailey will be the new pitcher for the Phils, and he will face Echeverria, and then Ichiro's out of the on deck circle to pinch hit. .97 pitches for Eichhoff. He allowed 3 runs tonight on 6 hits and 6 innings of work. He was better tonight than he was against the Braves. Mixing his pitches a lot better tonight. The unfortunate part is that he did give up 2 solo home runs, and Phillies don't score a lot of runs for him. They average 2.6 per game while he's out there, which is the 4th lowest total in the National League.
Andrew Bailey coming into tonight's game with some good numbers.
Coming off an outing in which he topped out at 95 with his fastball. Swing and a miss, 2-2. Echeverria flied out to right and doubled and scored. Doubled and scored in the 5th inning. opposite way. Borges on the run, and he won't get there. It's over his head and off the wall, and Echeverria will get to second base with his second double of the night, and it's the second time he's led off an inning with a double. And Ichiro will pinch hit.
Wouldn't be totally surprised if Ichiro laid down a bunt. 52 hits shy of 3,000.
He had a hit against the Phillies when they faced them in Miami.
So hitting 295. Talked to a few of the media from Japan today that followed him when we played together in Japan. Still has the same guys following him around.
When he was in Japan, he had 1,278 hits. So for his career, he has 4,226 career hits as a professional baseball player. He does bunt, bunts it foul.
Man looks exactly the same.
You weren't in Miami when we played the Marlins. He was very happy to see John McLaren.
I'm sure. He is a riot. Mac was always a big fan of Ichi. How do you do it? So Mac, it's obvious. With his accent, it was just so funny.
Career numbers, 313 hitter. That ball goes right past Carlos, and over to third base goes Echeverria. So runner at third with nobody out. Nice crowd of 28,348. Watch this one go.
Ball just takes off. A couple of those yesterday on foul balls. Scared those in attendance right behind home plate.
They have scored that a wild pitch. And Ichiro takes up high. It's 3-1. Derek Dietrich is on deck. Phillies trying to keep this at a 2-run deficit. They have the infield in. Yeah, that's ball 4. So Ichiro's aboard. Time now for the Jeep Stump the Fans trivia quiz answer. All right, Ben, who is the only other Marlin besides D. Gordon to win a National League batting title?
Well, I'm going to go with the man who I thought had the second prettiest right-handed swing of any right-hander next to Manny Ramirez, and that's
It's you can't remember his name.
Ramirez.
Hanley Ramirez is correct. Log back on to Phillies.com. Did you forget his name?
Yeah, there's a lot of Ramirez going around there. I did for a quick second. As you get older, you forget things, Tom.
Yep. Dietrich's up, runners on first and third.
He still does have a beautiful swing. He's playing first base for the Red Sox now, and I thought Manny had the prettiest, but Hanley's is up there.
Swing and a miss. A lot of people around the game probably feel like he could have won more than one batting title if he had a little more care to it. Phillies do have the left-hander Araujo warming up in the pen. Here's Elvis. And a liner out toward left field. That ball is smoked. Goodell makes the catch. His throw goes to second. It'll get the run home, and it's a 4-1 ball game. RBI for Dietrich, his 15th of the year. And one out for Martin Prado.
Call that professional hitting right there. Not trying to do too much. Taking exactly what Andrew Bailey's going to give him.
Barry Bonds, the Marlins hitting coach. Frank Menachino, their assistant hitting coach, has a big hand in the success of the Marlins.
I know they're on the same playing field and everybody's quote unquote equal, but it kind of has to be a thrill for Tommy Joseph over at first base. All the accomplishments that each row has had, and you know, he's playing right alongside. Pretty neat.
Kyle Bearclaw is warming up.
One of the cooler names in all of baseball, I think.
Not really spelled like it sounds.
No.
2-0 to Martin Prado. Ichiro inches off first. Flinching going on tonight with these breaking pitches to the Marlins. First Jared Eichhoff with his curve. Runner goes. Pitch is hit foul into the crowd. Prado cringed a little bit as that ball went past the net and into the Diamond Club. But the gentleman who grabbed it is okay. We'll take a peek into both bullpens.
Surprised Elvis is up.
I guess he's up for Yelich.
Number of pitches he threw in yesterday's ball game.
That is true. He may be up for just one batter, although nobody else is warming up with him. Two and two. And 3 balls and 2 strikes. Yelich waits on deck. Runner goes, pitches outside, ball 4. Second walk issued by Bailey. And with runners on first and second, Yelich will bat. Let's see what Pete does. He's heading toward the stairs. So Elvis Araujo looks like he's going to come in to face Christian Yelich. They'll go lefty on lefty in this spot. Marlins have scored a run of the inning. They lead it 4-1. Let's see if Elvis Araujo can get out of this. Memorabilia, trips, and experiences, all part of the Phillies' fantastic auction. It includes road trips with the team to places like Atlanta, sleepover in the locker room for kids, maybe hang out with Bernie for a night out in center field, private hitting clinics, and much, much more. It's all in partnership with 94 WIP Radio. Net proceeds benefit Phillies Charities Incorporated. Auction closes at various times in the next couple of days. Now open. Go to Phillies.com/fantastic auction for bidding and a list of items. First and second, one out. Andrew Belly allowed one run so far. He's responsible for the 2 runners on base. Let's see if his teammate Elvis Araujo, who did have some heavy lifting in yesterday's ball game. He pitched the 9th inning. He allowed 2 runs on 3 hits in that 9th inning. Walked a couple batters. He's on to face Yelich. Stanton is in the on-deck circle.
This is something we've seen Pete do quite a number of times this year. See a reliever struggle, we'll bring him right back the next day.
So Dietrich's numbers are good from the 7th inning on. You see Yelich's numbers are good, although cool lately. Ichiro at second base, Prado at first. Out to left field. Goodell on the run. It slices away. It's over his head off the wall. 1 run is in. Prado's to third. He'll be held there. And Christian Yelich, an opposite field double, his 2nd double of the night, and his 12th overall. And it's now 5-1. Marlins on top.
I've seen a lot of good approaches by these Marlins hitters tonight. Echeverria going down the line as a right-hander. Dietrich, the sac fly, it's pulled out to left. Yelich here, it's a pitch out over the plate. They're using the whole field. They really are.
Well, so now they're going to walk Stanton, so it means Bohr will come up lefty on lefty.
Giancarlo! I thought on, it was Mike.
Wonder if Pete will get somebody up after this intentional walk. Because after Bohr, it's Marcell Ozuna, assuming you don't roll the double play. Elvis Araujo would have to face the right-hander. So intentional pass. The bases are loaded, and Bohr, who homered the opposite way his last time up, is batting here. Prado, Yelich, and Stanton. Good fastball. 94, excellent life.
Real good heater there.
Here's that opposite field home run his last time up.
Like you said, Tom, tomahawked it. Drives it out to left center. That's it. It really is a powerful swing that he has. Yes, he's a big guy. You can see that, but it's a strong stroke.
Got himself some pine tar too.
Yep. Not lacking for that.
Swing and a miss. He got him with a high heater. 2 outs. Bases remain loaded. Colton Murray was warming up as that pitch came in, and Marcell Ozuna will be the batter. Looks like they're going to stay with Elvis Araujo. Marcell Ozuna in this 16-game hit streak has 5 home runs during this stretch. Look how he's increased his average. About 100 points.
Yeah. Two career grand slams. Just nip this in the bud right here. 5-1. Already a big hole for the Phillies offense to climb out of. You do have 3 shots at it though.
Oh, 2 pitch in the dirt. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Araujo, one of 2 left-handers in the Phillies bullpen. Really the only one that they use on an everyday basis. Brett Oberholzer is more of a long man. Runners lead off. Swing and a miss. He got him. From a breaking ball toward the outer half of the plate. Araujo comes in, allows the double, but then picks up a couple of strikeouts. It's time to stretch here in Philadelphia. the Phils certainly do have some work to do as we go to the bottom half of the 7th inning, down by 4 runs. The Phillies have some future weekend dates that you might want to take note of, including the AT&T Michael Franco bobble figurine, which will be given out on Saturday, June 18th against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's a 3:05 first pitch. And then the 1st and the 2nd of July, it's Xfinity Fireworks post game against the Kansas City Royals. Check out all the weekends coming up by going to Phillies.com. Miguel Rojas will take over at first base for the Miami Marlins, and Kyle Bearclaw will be the new pitcher. Bearclaw in his 16th game, 3.00 ERA. When the Phillies saw the Marlins down in South Florida, they got to Bearclaw one night. They'll face Peter Borges to start it off. It'll be Borges, Herrera, and Cesar Hernandez. Chin music on that show of bunt.
Square around the bunt, you don't expect a 95 at your face.
We love you, Toro.
Got a play up to the Hall of Fame club. Yesterday the Phillies had base runners but couldn't score. Today it's sort of the same story, not as heavy as yesterday, but they have left 7 through 6 innings so far.
8 hits.
8 hits and just 1 run. They're 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position today. Boy, that's not a strike. It was, but 1 ball and 2 strikes to Peter Borges. That's a strike. 1 out. We'll go to the 7th inning, or top of the order in the 7th inning, and Odubel Herrera will be the batter. Herrera is 1 for 3. Murphy's been on base now 35 of the last 36 ball games.
You know what, Tom? Any way that you slice the numbers for Odubel Herrera, he is the real bright offensive spot on this Phillies team. You mentioned 35 of 36 games just being on base. His on-base percentage is starting to creep towards 500. That is impressive. But when he moved into the leadoff spot, Tampa batting 375 out of the leadoff spot. And if you go back to June 28th of last year, a very large sample size, how about his best in the National League in batting average, batting 337, a couple of Marlins right behind him. He's added walks into his repertoire this year as well. So every time you turn around, he is doing something more impressive. 22 of 24 games where he's been in that leadoff spot, guys, he has gotten on base. So he has continued to just really amaze and continue to march towards becoming one of the better hitters in the National League.
Pete talked about him today, and as Odubel went out, I was telling him a little bit about what Pete was saying, but what Pete said today, he said he's getting smarter. There's so many things about his game that are improving, but he's getting smarter as a hitter. He said that's good, because last year he was doing it in his first year in the big leagues, trying to find his way through. And all of that he's shown this year just proves that he's paying attention, and he wanted to improve certain things, and he has.
Bottom line is he has the talent, and good hitters find ways to get hits. His first 2 at-bats, he didn't look good. What's he do? Drops down a bunt, beats it out. So you're looking at it from that aspect. You go, you're 0 for 2 right now. You're 1 for 3. Could end up the night 2 for 4.
1-2 to Odubel. Crowd pop-up. And it remains 1-2. Marlins got Bearclaw from the St. Louis Cardinals for Steve Cishek. Cishek has since left the Cardinals and is with the Mariners. Blew a save yesterday, but has been one of the better closers, numbers-wise, saves-wise, in the American League. Not a bad exchange for the Marlins, though.
No.
Get a younger reliever. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Odubel. Cesar Hernandez, who is 1 for 3, waits on deck. Gonna have to check that seat tomorrow, Ben. Might need to be adjusted.
Remove the dent.
They're all looking for the baseball. I don't know if they realize it went about 30 feet to their left.
Yes. Realmuto is looking at him like, are you ever going to get in this box?
Back toward the middle, off Bear Claw and into shallow right field. And Odubel will stay at first, and that's his second hit, and that ball hit Bear Claw's feet flush. And Juan Nieves, Don Mattingly, and the Marlins athletic trainer will come out. Almost looks like he says it's his right foot that it hit.
It got to the outfield in a hurry. Just above the top of the spike there.
It sounded like it hit the spike just because of the thud, that sound that it made. He's going to push off a little bit. Take a listen.
And even in slow-mo, ball gets to the outfield in a hurry. Exactly what I'm talking about, though. Odubel. He didn't even come close to looking good his first 2 at bats. Drops down the bunt. Oh, 0 for 2. Well, now I'm 2 for 4. I mean, he finds ways and he makes the adjustment.
Yeah, he's productive. I think what Pete said today was so right. He's just getting smarter as this goes along. For a Rule 5 pick to do what he's been able to do.
See the pitches he just saw in that at bat. He really does impress me.
Well, now Cesar Hernandez is up with 1 man down. Prado will creep in on the grass at third. Back toward the middle and over the glove, off the glove of Bear Claw, bobbled by Dietrich. I don't know if Bear Claw would have let that go if Dietrich would have had a clean double play, or at least an attempt at it, or if it would have gone right into center field.
And sometimes when you reach up and you stab at it, you break up the rhythm of the infielders. I think that's what happened there. So that's probably going to go down as a base hit.
Been scored an E4.
E4.
I think part of it is they thought he would still get Hernandez, and he realizes there, Bear Claw. It's hard, though. I mean, you were out there, Ben, for a period of time. It's hard not to try to flag those down.
Instinct tells you to go get it.
Michael Franco waves at the first pitch. They kind of sensed he was sitting fastball. They threw him the breaking pitch. Smart. This time he lays off. They throw him basically the same pitch.
We need some Earl Weaver baseball. A 3-run homer right here.
Yeah.
I'd take a single to right field, though. I'll tell you that much, Tom.
Keep it moving. Three balls and one strike. Carlos is on deck. Marlins bullpen has not started to loosen yet. And there's ball 4. That'll load up the bases. It brings the tying run of the plate in Carlos Ruiz. Carlos is 0 for 2 with a walk. Davis is going to go out. Carlos has 1 grand slam to his name. That came back in April of 2011 in Atlanta. With a quick conversation with Bearclaw. Phillies will just take a base hit here. 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. David Phelps has started to warm up, the right-hander in the bullpen. 1 for 9 after struggling yesterday with runners in scoring position. They get a couple runs, it'll be Neris. If they don't, it'll probably be Murray. Now the first pitch coming to Ruiz. Outside, ball 1. I don't know if any of this has to do with Odubel's ball back to the box or not.
All right, Tom Joe, you got it.
Adam Conley magically got through 6, even though he allowed 8 hits. He had a really good changeup tonight. The 1-0 pitch coming to Ruiz. Carlos chops it over to short. Echeverria goes to second for 1, and that's all they'll get. A run scores. It's a 5-2 game.
All right, Toro! Let's go, Tom Joe!
Bearclaw will take that.
Not ideal, but better than hitting to a double play and still have a chance to score some runs here.
Tommy is 1 for 3. Got his first major league hit his last time up. He flied to center both in his first 2 at-bats. Fastball, and it's 0-1. 96 on that fastball.
Tough pitch there.
Breaking ball, and it's 0-2. Swing and a miss, and the side is retired. Phillies do get a run. They leave a couple here in the 7th.
Next time, Tom
We'll
Joe!
go to the 8th. It's a 5-2 Marlins lead. Ball is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Lottery's new instant game, Pennsylvania Millions. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. By Jefferson. Call 800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. And by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Top of the 8th inning, the Phillies trail at 5-2. Time now for a Hyundai defensive play of the game. This is going to turn out to be a pretty big play if the Phillies wind up losing this ball game.
It will be, and it's a good pick by Martin Prado. Gets on that short hop, fires it to Derek Dietrich, and then on to Bohr at first base. Complete the 5-4-3 double play. That's your Hyundai defensive play of the game, brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
So Colton Murray will take over for the Phils. They're in the 8th inning. Murray will face JT Real Muto to start things off. Elvis Araujo goes 2/3. He allows a hit. No runs. Milwaukee 2 strikeouts.
I liked what I saw out of Colton his last outing. Good command of that fastball. Of course, he had that big curveball which he likes to throw. Talk about a max effort guy. Colton Murray is that and then some.
Outside 2-0.
Chooch wanted that one. Again, you see that slight pause before he throws it back. Number 51 wanted it. Just has to be careful back there because you don't want Andres Blanco coming in or
It's so true.
to come catch. So he's got to bite his tongue right now.
3-1 pitch coming. Hit sharply, fair down the third base line and heading down toward the corner. Real Muto will pull into second base. Michael pointed to the dugout, but that is not reviewable. So a leadoff double, and the last 2 leadoff doubles, both by Echeverria, scored in this game. You can do so much when you get a runner in scoring position to start an inning off.
Just rifles this ball down the line. You're sitting 3-1 in the 8th inning. Up 5-2. You're going to get a fastball to hit. That's what Real Muto got, and he drove it down the line.
So Echeverria is 2 for 3. Couple doubles, couple runs scored. Fouls it off toward the Hall of Fame club. Now the team has lit it up tonight with runners in scoring position. The Phillies are 1 for 11. The Marlins are 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position.
Echeverria!
Opposite way, another base hit for Echeverria. Peter Borges gets to it. They're going to hold JT Real Muto. And that'll put runners on first and third. 3 hits tonight for Echeverria.
Another opposite field hit for the Marlins.
Yeah, and Rojas will be the batter. Rojas came on as part of a double switch last inning. All right, so the Phillies have played the infield in the middle up. Dallas almost looks double play depth.
He does.
Cesar's up a little bit more the opposite way.
Rojas just learned the signs today.
They may have changed them. It's a new series. Runner goes from first. The ball is butted back toward the mound. Real Muto was starting to come down and then froze. That'll turn out to be a sacrifice to move the runner up to second base. 1-3 on the putout.
Safety squeeze, and Real Muto at third base thinks better of it, and rightfully so.
All right, they're going to walk Dietrich intentionally to face the dangerous Martin Prado, just to put the double play in order here. Dietrich got the sac fly his last time up.
For someone that's hitting, Rojas now hitting 282 after that at bat, he's really not showing a whole lot of belief in Rojas to get the job done. First and third, nobody out. Do a sac, like a safety squeeze.
Well, I think they probably wanted a better bunt to then score the run, and then they figure they'll settle for the runner going to second base.
I guess, but a lot of things have to go right for a safety squeeze to work, which we saw with Hellickson the other day.
Well, Martin Prado, who is 2 for 2 with a sac fly and a walk. Fastball on the inside corner, 95 on that one from Colton Murray.
I love your handbags.
Down and away. Phillies in their half of the 8th inning will have Galvis, Goodell, and then the pitcher spot. Good play by Chooch. That was almost the slider from Colton Murray.
Whoever it was, I think it was the slider. What a play by Chooch. He blocks the ball. It just goes right out in front of it. Never deflects into a different direction. Watch how he slides. He pushes off of that left leg, gets around it, drops right in front of him. That is textbook by Chooch. Well done.
Probably looked like he hit that right below the guard. It's on his left leg. It's even now 2-2. Right on the foot.
Yep.
Maybe he can throw that hook right here as an Backed off, although he's the kind of guy that usually stays in.
How that didn't hit his hands. That's such an all or nothing pitch for him, that big curveball. Unless you really have a feel for it, I think you're going to see a heater here.
Popped him up down the right field line. Borges comes in. Tagging from third is Real Muto. And the throw comes to the plate on one hop. 2 outs.
There you go. Great throw by Peter.
And Christian Yelich is now up.
Ball's in the air for a while, but he's still able to get around it, square himself up, throw a strike to home plate.
Line drive caught by Tommy Joseph at first. And Colton Murray's been able to dance out of trouble here in the top of the 8th inning.
It wasn't pretty, but it worked.
No runs, 2 hits, 3 men left. We head to the bottom of the 8th. It's a 3-run game. $5 or more. Take advantage of special group opportunities, including discounts, theme nights, party areas, plenty of benefits and special options. For more information, go to Phillies.com/group tickets. Chris Johnson takes over at first base, and Rojas goes from first base to second base. Now the new pitcher is right-hander David Phelps. After Bearclaw allows a run in the 7th inning.
Phelps 2-2 with a 1.57 ERA, 23 innings pitched, 27 strikeouts.
Phillies saw him a couple times down in South Florida. They were able to get to him the one time.
They were. Very good cutter, both sides of the plate. Mid-90s guy.
One of the things that stood out and has stood out during the course of this year, stood out when the Phillies were in Miami, and has stood out at times this year, is their ability to capitalize on mistakes the other teams made this year. And that's what the Marlins did in that series to help the Phils to the victories.
remember watching those ball games. I was not down there, but watched them all, and you're right, they definitely did that.
Outside 2-0. Galvis is 1 for 3 tonight, hit into a double play his last time. Two balls and 1 strike. Goodell, who has 3 hits, is on deck. By the way, excellent crowd tonight. I know some folks have gone home, but 28,348 on this Monday night. See some open seats, obviously, at this point, but it was a little thicker earlier tonight. And Galvis is down looking, 1 away. Tyler Goodell's coming up. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, thanks, Tom. It's time for greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. According to several reports, it appears Tim Lincecum is headed back to the major leagues and with the LA Angels. Of course, Lincecum is coming off of hip surgery. The Angels, though, they need some help in that rotation. They have 4 starters dealing with injuries. That deal appears to be close. The Mets' Steven Matz, he got some good news on his sore elbow. No structural damage in that elbow. He missed his last start because of that sore elbow, but no word yet when he will rejoin the rotation. And also the New York Yankees getting some good injury news. They'll be bolstered on their 25-man roster. They expect both CC Sabathia and Alex Rodriguez to be back by the end of this week to help those guys out there at the New York Yankees. Guys, that's your greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile.
Murph, I love the way you're able to maneuver up the stairs while you're chatting like that.
Did you see that?
Yeah, it was very smooth.
I'm just getting my workout in too. That's all.
2 balls and 1 strike to Tyler Goodell. Tyler 3 for 3 tonight. He is 7 for his last 13, as we mentioned after his last base hit. Prior to that, he had been 7 for 44. His timing is better. That one's over to shortstop. Echeverria is up with it. Low throw, dug out by Johnson. 2 outs. Johnson, who made one of those mistakes when the Phillies were in Miami, he just dropped the ball over at first. That opened the door for the Phils to take the lead in one of the games and eventually win. David Lowe will now pinch hit. 5th time this year that he's up there as a pinch hitter.
Wonder how many times he replayed that almost grand slam yesterday.
Oof. Phillies had a couple of occasions yesterday where they had almost.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
0-2. That one nearly came all the way back. Ryan Howard is lurking. Off the end of the bat to right field. And Stanton hops back a few steps, puts it away. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Phelps. 8 in the books here at Philadelphia. On to the 9th inning. 5-2 Marlins. Retire the opposing team 1-2-3. Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. 5-2 Marlins as we head to the top of the 9th inning. David Hernandez will be the new pitcher for the Phillies. Hernandez takes over for Colton Murray. There's a scoreless 8th inning. Walked tightrope during that 8th inning, but still a scoreless inning. Stanton is 0 for 3 tonight. Intentionally walked his last time.
Some good numbers for David Hernandez.
Oh man. Are they calling catcher's interference? They are.
Happened to him yesterday.
Yeah, but this one hurt.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a little tip. This one hurt. Carlos is going to take a little time. It's another error charged to Carlos. Oh yeah, that hurts. That hit the hand big time. He just waved off Sean Fakasny. Yeah. I mean, you've had that happen before where you've been hit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the pain, I mean, it's painful. But that's 2 in a row, so there's something, he's too close, right?
He's too close. And I don't know if when he gets down in that Tony Pena style of catching where he kicks that right leg out and he forgets the space or distance allotted to give to that hitter to swing with. You obviously want to be as close as you can to the batter so you can get that low strike, but far enough away where you don't get that catcher's interference.
No balls and 1 strike. Swing and a miss by Chris Johnson. Johnson overall hitting .227 with a home run and 3 runs batted in. Swing and a miss. And Johnson is rung up. 1 out.
Good slider there by David.
Well, here's Ruiz on the pitch where he got hit. And you talked about the Tony Pena style with the 1 leg out.
Yeah. Obviously, all depends on where you're going to stand in the box. It looks like Johnson and Stanton pretty much stay in the same spot. Definitely is a fine line to getting this close. You go to a Little League game, the catcher's way back by the backstop.
Yep.
Always. You tell them to get closer, they move like 6 inches closer.
Fastball at the knees, and it's 0-1. It's true.
It's so true.
Hey, buddy, move up toward the plate, and he just creeps a little bit. Don't make fun of him, Ben. You were the same way. No balls and 1 strike. 0-2. David Hernandez enters this ball game with an ERA of 3.09. It's dipped down to 3.06. He closed out one of the games against the Cincinnati Reds, and it was the game where Tyler Goodell threw out Suarez at the plate, and his reaction was priceless, as you would imagine.
Yes.
As he strikes Ozuna out, and here is Real Muto. Real Muto 1 for 3, doubled in the 8th inning, walked in the 2nd. No balls and 1 strike.
This obviously is not a high pressure inning or situation right here for David Hernandez, but it just seems like he's more free and easy, and his stuff is drastically different. I mean, his fastball is free and easy. His slider's got sharp bite on it.
Yeah, that was a decent pitch right there.
It was. He's already got 2 strikeouts with that slider to Johnson and Ozuna. See that fastball at 94, 95. I mean, this stuff is electric right here. And who's going to hit that pitch right there, Tom?
Maybe somebody on the left side of the box.
I mean,
Two and 2. That was a bit high, and it's full 3 and 2. Stanton will be off and running. Joseph will play behind him at first. Echeverria on deck. Outside, ball 4. 2 on, 2 outs. And Echeverria will get a chance to hit here against Hernandez. Fastball along the belt. It's 0-1. Marlins bullpen. Dustin McGowan near side. AJ Ramos, the closer, is the farther pitcher. If they score again, it might be McGowan. If they don't, it'll be Ramos for the save opportunity. 0-2. 94 on that fastball. Over to second base. Hernandez to his left is up with it. And the side is retired. No runs, no hits. 2 men left. 1 error by the Phils. Last chance for the Phillies as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning, down by 3. All right, Ben, so the home runs tonight are W.B. Mason deliveries of the game. They've turned out to be a big part of this ball game.
They have. Marcell Ozuna gets a first pitch fastball, not a first pitch, but a fastball up in the zone and drives it way out of here to left center off Jerad Eickhoff. And then Justin Bour later in the at-bat gets a fastball out over the plate and drives it to left center. Just to the left of the 409 sign. 2 solo home runs. And they are your W.B. Mason deliveries of the game.
All right, so the Phillies are down by 3 as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Marlins closer, A.J. Ramos, will be the new pitcher. He's 11 for 11 in save opportunities. This is not a guy that throws mid-90s, high 90s stuff. He relies on his off-speed stuff. He's got a good fastball, but he relies mostly on the off-speed stuff.
He does, and he loves that slider. I don't know why he doesn't use his fastball like he should use it. He's a guy that likes to miss bats. I guess that's the best way you could explain his pitching.
So Andres Blanco will lead it off. He's batting for Borges. Andres overall hitting over 300. And he's hit by a pitch. Blanco is. They're trying to knock the emergency catcher out of the game. So the hit by pitch gives the Phils a base runner. One more base runner to bring the tying run to the plate.
Does get hit a lot for whatever reason, but got a motion to the bench like, come on, let's go.
Wow, back leg. Yeah. Right past the front leg. Odubel Herrera is 1 for 2 against A.J. Ramos. He has 2 hits tonight. Prado, the third baseman, in on the grass just in case. Middle infielders set up to try to turn 2. Short lead for Blanco at first. And a breaking ball. It's 0-1. Phillies did not see Ramos down in Florida. He had worked the previous 3 games, so they gave him off in the situation that they could have utilized him. 1 ball and 1 strike to Odubel. And he lines it into right center field for a base hit. Blanco to second. He'll stop there as Ozuna uncorks the throw. I'm talking about just putting bat to ball. That's exactly what Herrera did there.
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier in the game. 0 for 2 to 1 for 3 to 2 for 4. Next thing you know, I have a big night. I'm 3 for 5. Keep those hands back. Get barrel to baseball. And he still hits it that hard. Still hits it that hard.
Odubel with his 3 hits tonight continues to run up the list of the National League for hits. He was among the top 10 coming in. 4th 3-hit game of the season for him. The 18th of his career. And now Cesar Hernandez is up. And Hernandez swings at the first pitch. Hits it out toward right center field. Blanco will tag. Herrera will tag. The throw goes towards second base. And the Phillies have first and third with 1 out. Following the game, Ricky Metallico will stand by to break down the series opener between the Phils and the Marlins. Plus, you'll hear reactions from manager Pete Mackanin. Only on Cure Auto Insurance presents Phillies Postgame Live. Blanco's at third. Odubel Herrera is at first. And Franco is the batter. Franco has grounded out. He has struck out twice. He walked his last time. Ryan Howard is getting ready. Out toward left center field. On the run is Ozuna. Out toward the wall. He has room. He makes the catch. Blanco will tag and score. It's a 5-3 game. Man, he just missed that one. It was close. It just didn't sound off the bat as if he had it.
I think it got in on him just a hair. But again, when we talked about yesterday, almost. I think it did get on him just a smidgen. You always expect for that pitch to break. Matt always talks about the backup slider is the best pitch in baseball. It's a perfect example of it there. You expect it to break. You look for it to break. It backs up and it jams you.
Well, still the tying run is at the plate again with Carlos Ruiz. Ryan Howard is in the on-deck circle to pinch hit for Tommy Joseph. Phillies down by 2. Odubel is going to go. They're going to let him go. Game 2 is coming up tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Comcast Sportsnet. Vince Velasquez, Wei-Yin Chen are the scheduled pitchers. Carlos chops it foul. It's 0-2. Phillies are down to their final strike. See if Carlos can get a little magic going here. Phillies have left 9 in this ball game. That's a pretty large number. But the Marlins have left 12 in the dirt. Ruiz did not bite. The game is so close to being tied by Maikel Franco. So close on the bat. He still powered it out toward the wall in left center field.
Does look like Chooch is picking the slider up. 2 good takes and one before that in the dirt.
Odubel Herrera leads off second. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And a strike 3 called. He throws him on it, and the ball game is over. The Phillies do get a run in the 9th inning. They leave 1 in scoring position, but A.J. Ramos is able to secure his 12th save of the season as the Marlins take game 1 by a final 5-3. Adam Conley scattered 8 hits over 6 innings. It turns out he's our Chevrolet player of the game because of his efforts.
Good fastball. We know about that good fastball, but I was very impressed with his changeup this evening, which I alluded to earlier. Was able to get in on righties, which really set up that changeup down and away. Mixed in a few sliders, but was primarily just fastball. Changeup, was able to induce a double play there to Freddie Galvis. He is your Chevrolet player of the game.
All right, so game 1 goes to the Marlins. These 2 teams have split the 4 games so far. Marlins win at 5-3. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this.